This month's meeting of the Irondequoit Historic Preservation Commission to order. If you'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Historian Merrick, if you would do the roll call.
Okay. Chairman Chris Brandt.
Here.
Vice Chairman Mark Johns. Here. Bruce Dumbolt. Here. Greg Walter. Here. Sarah Corona is absent. Jennifer Ahrens is absent. Ann Himes. Here. And I'm here. You have a quorum.
Great. Okay. And then for our primary item of business before getting into the main attraction for the meeting, the review of last month's meeting minutes, the March 26, 2024 meeting minutes. I had one correction, which I reviewed with Greg Merrick before the meeting. So just to reiterate, the one change was to strike the second sentence below landmark plaques, which is on the second page of the minutes. This second sentence seems to be something that was holding on for our discussion about potential signage for the Wimbledon Road District, not related to plaques or individual landmarks in the town. And then I'll give my fellow commission members a chance if there's anything else, but it seems like I think most everyone already looked through and doesn't have anything else to contribute, but give you a minute or two, and then if not, we can get a motion to approve. Okay, make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted with the one edit on the second page. Can I get a second? I'm going to second from Commissioner Johns. All in favor? All right, great. So minutes approved as amended. Then the last item before we get into our presentation tonight on the Wimbledon Road National Register Historic District is a brief update regarding the townwide historic resource survey. The RFP was issued back in March and was issued to 9 qualified bidders across upstate New York. We received responses from all of those invited bidders, and then we, out of those original 8 or 9, out of the original 9, we received 2 official notices of declining to submit a proposal, and then 3 completed proposals, which were received by Thursday of last week. So next steps will be reviewing and interviewing those potential consultant candidates for conducting the townwide historic resource survey this year. And that's it for townwide historic resource survey. So now on to our primary attraction tonight. Tonight is the final public meeting for the proposed Wimbledon Road National Register Historic District. With us tonight from the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation are Virginia Bartos and Christina Vagvolgi. And I will turn it over to Virginia and Christina for the next many minutes. So off to you guys.
To you about this project, which is kind of long in coming, and that it's going through. And I think the best way for us to kind of get you to kind of understand what we are doing and why we're doing it, I have a little bit of a presentation. So if you give me a moment, I will call it up. Still? Okay. Yeah. Just want to welcome everyone to this little overview of information about the historic places. And the goal of this presentation is to provide general information for property owners and point them in the right direction for answers to any additional questions. And if you're not familiar with the National Register of Historic Places, it's the country's oldest historic preservation program established by Congress in 1966. The Act sets up guidelines for evaluating buildings, sites, objects, districts, and structures to add to the federal list or register for recognizing a resource of state, local, or national importance. In 1980, New York State enacted its own historic preservation law and created the State Register of Historic Places. State Historic Preservation Offices, or SHPOs, were created shortly after the passage of the 1966 Act, when the Secretary of the Interior gave the responsibility for historic preservation to the states and territories. And since 1968, SHPOs, as they're called, have identified, evaluated, and aided in registering and protecting historic properties by working in partnership with organizations, individuals, and government agencies. Okay. Now, what does the SHPO do? Well, there are 5 major tasks of the SHPO, which are seen here, and they're listed in no particular order. What the SHPO can do, or does, is review and comment on surveys of historical resources to assist communities in using historic preservation as part of their planning tools, to administer the Certified Local Government Program, to review and provide guidance on state and federal tax credit programs, to oversee the state and national registers, to provide recognition for resources deemed historic for communities. And last but not least, the SHPO can't do it all, so we look to partner with other public and private preservation groups. And the whole point, or the goal, is to assist municipalities, organizations, and individuals with preservation and help them turn this into this. This is the Hawkins House on Long Island. Now, a lot of things float around outside about, just what the National Register is, what you can, what you can't do, what you can nominate. Well, you can nominate just about anything, or I should say a wide variety of historic resources can be listed. As long as it can be documented and meet criteria for listing, a case can be made to the National Park Service for recognition. For example, the Big Duck roadside attraction on Long Island that was listed in 1997. Criteria state that a resource must be related to events, trends, patterns of history, be connected to a significant individual, or represent a particular type of architecture or design, be the work of a master, or have the potential to yield information. As with anything, there are exceptions, and the same goes for listings. The exceptions include cemeteries that represent a particular design type or contain historic funerary art and or persons of transcendent importance. One such example of a cemetery that got listed is Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester, part of an early 19th century rural cemetery movement, which contains the burials of Susan B. Anthony and Frederick Douglass, and they're considered individuals of transcendent importance. Another listed cemetery is Woodlawn Cemetery in Canandaigua in its chapel, donated by Mary Clark Thompson. Houses of worship also fit into the exception category by being a certain design type, such as a Quaker meeting house, seen in the upper right, a synagogue, next to that, cathedral, or be the work of a master such as Louis Kahn's Unitarian Church in Rochester. Listings can also contain several resources referred to as historic districts, providing that the resources share a similar history and architectural integrity. They can be groups of residences, such as the Brockport West Side Historic District that was listed in 2021, or the Coda Vista Historic District in Greece, listed in 2019, that was an area developed by workers from Kodak. showing the development of the economic heart of the community as seen here, with the Geneva Downtown Historic District listed in 2014. Commercial districts can benefit from the 1976 Tax Reform Act and later the 1981 Economic Recovery Tax Act that created the Commercial Rehabilitation Tax Credit Program. Just to give you an idea, this is an old number, but it does give you an idea of how important this particular program is. In 2018, the state of New York totaled nearly $840 million in commercial rehabilitation tax credits. What is the tax credit? It exceeds 20% of qualified rehabilitation expenditures. There's no upper limit on credit. Properties in qualifying census tracts can get an additional New York State credit of 20 to 30% depending on the size of the project. And the nice thing now is that the National Park Service is accepting applications for these online. The picture that you see down in the bottom of the screen is the Pines of Parenton, which was listed on the National Register and is part of they're doing a tax credit project on this for rehabilitation for this apartment building complex. Adopted in 2009, the New York State Legislature created a similar tax credit program for private property owners. And there are a few things that you have to do for this. The house must be listed, at least on the state register. It must be in an eligible census tract, and I should mention that Wimbledon Road is in an eligible census tract. And that this program will be up for renewal, I believe, in 2027. Here's some other information about the homeowner tax credit. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it because that's what Christine is here to talk about tonight. There's also a barn rehabilitation tax credit. As it says here, for owners of barns may qualify for the New York State Historic Barn Rehabilitation Tax Credit, which is a state income tax credit equal to 25% of the qualified expenses. Now, there are a few little caveats. The owner must be a New York State taxpayer. Barn has to be in service before 1946, and you can't convert the barn into housing. The interesting thing, though, is the barn does not need to be listed on the state or national register of historic places, although the Wheeler barn was listed. There's another program out there that we work with. It's the Sacred Sites program. The reason our part of working with this, it's a program from the New York Landmarks Conservancy. We work with people to get churches listed on the National Register so that they can apply for matching grants to this organization, to Sacred Sites, for brick and mortar work. There are very few places that have that, that option to do. Now, for what we are considering today, we are looking at the Wimbledon Road Historic District, which is in Monroe County, which I don't need to tell you, you all are in Monroe County, you're all in Irondequoit. And just exactly what this project is, I think what I will do is I will turn it over to Chris so he can talk a little bit about it. I'm going to put up a map of the district.
Okay, so while we're looking at the map on the screen, I think a number of the homeowners within the district are likely a bit familiar with the process that the Irondequoit Historic Preservation Commission has been undertaking for this district through some of our previous public meetings regarding the district. But the brief history about the district and why it's significant hinges in particular on its original development, and that these 31 contiguous lots that we see here on the single block between North Clinton Avenue and Seneca Avenue were all built between the years of 1927 and 1929 by one company led by Fred P. Tosh. Fred Tosh was a prominent builder, realtor, and claimed to be an architect, though we've not been able to establish whether or not he actually is. It's likely that he had designers working for the company. But the Wimbledon Road District in particular is significant because of both that it's earlier in his career and is one of the more significant examples of his what became a calling card of developing these sort of larger planned developments where he would buy up several adjacent lots and then have full control over the design and construction of the homes within that district instead of doing a more incremental approach to development or taking a more developer approach where you're just subdividing the land, laying out the streets, and then selling the lots. He wanted to control the entire process from start to finish, as well as what also became a common feature of his developments that was first started here in Wimbledon Road is that one of the very first houses that he built in the district was the house that he lived in. And so he actually lived on the construction site. That became a sort of signature of his service and an emblem of the trust he wanted to imbue in potential clients that the contractor would be your neighbor. And so it sort of imbued a sense of trustworthiness and a sense of the dedication and quality that went into his building projects. So there were many other developments like this, though this one is certainly one of the most large and most intact, and also, again, is sort of the most significant early example of what became a method of working that came to define his career as he worked in Rochester up until about 1945, and then moved to Buffalo and continued working there nearly to his death in the 1960s. So that's a brief overview, Virginia. I don't know if you'd like me to mention anything else, but I'm happy to turn it back over to you.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Everyone should have gotten, everyone in the district, we are required to notify them that the district is going to be presented at the next state review board meeting, which is in June. And this little information sheet should have been in there. And we try to address a lot of the questions that people have. What I need to stress is this is a state and federal action, which means it's not a local action, it's state and federal. It means that if you are using your own money to paint the house, you don't have to come to us and require, us to review the project that we can, okay? So there are things that we can and cannot do, things that we should and should not do. For instance, it's basically an honorific kind of listing, but it does allow you to take advantage of the homeowner tax credit. And if you do apply for the homeowner tax credit, we work with you to make sure that you get your credit, and we do have to adhere to certain standards, which Christina will talk about later. Okay? But otherwise, you do have to pay attention though, because you are in certified local government, and there is local historic legislation. So, like I say to people when they're doing these projects, contact the Historic Preservation Commission to find out and make sure that you're dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's. Okay? And that's just a little caveat. Now, a lot of people say, I think this is the best thing since sliced bread. What can I do to support? Well, you can send us a letter of support. These should be addressed to the person that you see there, R.W. McKay, Deputy State Historic Preservation Officer, and there's the address. That's where we're located in Waterford, New York, which is just north of Albany. Now, if you don't think it's the best thing since sliced bread, if you want to object to the district, you can do that as well, and we ask that it be in writing. And the National Park Service has this rule that the letters of objection either need to be notarized or have the following statement included in them. And the statement is, executed within the United States, its territories, possessions, or commonwealths, I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. So you just put that at the end of the letter of objection. It should also include the address and the historic district that you're objecting to. Remember, you're not objecting to the house being part of the district. You're objecting to the entire district. A lot of people think that, we can pull the house. No. The way we list historic districts is there are doesn't at all. And we do that by the number of responses that we get. So, we'd like to see letters of support, and we understand about letters of objection, but just make sure they're either notarized or have this particular sentence in them. If you have additional questions about the National Register, I'm the one to talk to, and there's my contact information that I need to tell you. You need to contact me before July 3rd, because on that date I'm retiring. Okay? After that, you can just call our general number and ask for anyone in the National Register unit. We all can answer generic questions about the National Register. I've included information about who to contact for information about the federal commercial tax credit. But since this is largely a homeowner residential historic district, I doubt that anyone will be doing a federal tax credit on their house. Right? There's Christina's information. If you know someone who has a barn, a historic barn, and that they want to fix it up and get a tax credit for it, there's information for the person for the barn tax credit program. And also, all this information can be found on our website. Now, since we're part of an organization, we're part of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, which means there's boat rental, there's cabin rental, there's parks, there's all kinds of things. So if you get right to the SHPO page, there it is down on the bottom, https://ny.gov/SHPO. That'll get you right to us, and you can bypass all that information about maritime safety and boat rental and cabin rental and how much does it cost to get into Letchworth State Park, that kind of thing. Okay. And that's all that I have. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of this. And I'm going to let Christina take over.
Hello. Okay.
Can you get it?
Yes, I just have to make sure I grab the right one.
Okay. Well, just turn off my video.
Are you all seeing the presenter view?
Yeah.
Yeah, it always says that. Oh, there we go.
No, sorry, yeah, we see your presentation completely, we don't see your notes.
Right now you do.
Correct, yeah, we can see the slides.
Good. Okay, hi. So Virginia sort of mentioned this program a little bit. This is like the favorite program that I administer at her office. This is our historic homeownership rehabilitation credit program. So what it is it's based on a tax law that allows you to earn a tax credit. It's a dollar for dollar reduction of what you owe the state of New York in taxes. And it's 25% of the qualified expenses that you spend doing work on your historic home. It gets applied as a credit if your income is $60,000 or below. If the credit is more than what you owe the state in taxes, then you can actually get it refunded to you. Otherwise, it just can carry forward into subsequent tax years. So I like to think of it as a back and beyond coupon for your house. But so who can use the credit? Again, I can skim past some of these things. You have to be a New York State taxpayer. The building has to be listed at least in the state register, definitely also in the National Register or a local certified district, and it has to be in a qualifying census tract. And you guys are all set in terms of the census tract. You have to spend at least $5,000 on the total projects that you do, or the work items that you do for your project. 5% has to be on the exterior, and you can't get more than $50,000 of credit on a single tax filing, but that means you would need to spend $250,000 in like a single year to max out the credit. So it happens, but it's quite a lot, and there's ways to phase it out so you don't lose that. So there is a process for applying. Based on what the tax law says, our office has to provide different certifications. One, we have to certify that it's a qualified historic home. Two, we have to review the work prior to the start. And three, we certify the final work. So part 1 and 2 come together on the same application form. There's just some basic questions about the house. We review that. We, approve you to start your work, and then once you're done, you send us another application. There are some review fees. It's only $25 for the part 1 and 2 application, and then the part 3 fee depends on what your total expenses are. But if you're below, if your adjusted gross income is $60,000 or below, you also don't owe the fees in addition to being refundable to you. And you can apply year after year. There's no limit to the number of times that you can use this credit. Ask Chris. So many things qualify. But it's not just like preservation work. It's normal things that you would be doing to your house. Painting your house, repairing your porch, replacing your roof, repairing your stone, your chimney, even replacing windows. We love when people come to us to repair windows, but there are plenty of acceptable replacement windows that we approve under the program. We don't, 99.9% of the time, we would not approve vinyl windows under the program. So that's something to keep in mind if you're going to apply. Things on the interior, you can redo your whole kitchen. The appliances aren't covered, but like flooring, countertops, cabinets, backsplashes, plumbing, things in bathrooms, it's pretty amazing. Even solar panels can be allowed under the program. There's also other incentives for solar panels as well through other state agencies, but you can count the installation of solar panels towards this credit. They just have to be generally not visible from the public elevation or the front of the house. If you have a south-facing front sloped roof, you're kind of out of luck, but if you can get them on the back of your house or even on your garage or somewhere else, I don't know how big your lot is, as long as they're tied into your electricity, then that's a qualifying expense of the program. Things that don't qualify, anything basically outside the footprint of your home, so landscaping, driveways, detached garages, work that we didn't approve prior to the start, anything like an addition, anything that adds square footage to your home, does not qualify for the credit. And then meeting the standards is important. We base our reviews on the Secretary of the Interior standards. I could talk for an hour about what they are, but it's basically the most important things to think about when it comes to this program are retain, repair, and replace. So when you can keep those stored materials and repair them, that's the best opportunity to meet the standards. If you have to replace something, replacing it with the same material, or in some cases with a material that is, deemed appropriate, like with a window. If you want to put in a new wood window, fantastic. There are even some other materials like aluminum that would be fine to be acceptable replacements as long as they're, matching the size and the configuration. So there is some leeway with replacement materials, but generally those are the things that we're looking for with those standards. And again, we're not expecting you to go back in time and put your house back to, what it was originally, especially with spaces like kitchens. You can update your home as needed. You're working with what you have. I always say to people, you can pretty much do whatever you want with your kitchen unless Abraham Lincoln ate lunch there. Then it's, otherwise, we don't really care what you're going to do with your kitchen. We can also, I'm not sure how many houses in this neighborhood have, I don't think there's many, maybe 2-family homes, but if you do have a rental unit inside your home, you can still get the homeownership credit. It's just that you can't claim the credit for any work you do on the inside of the rental unit, and anything you do on the exterior or in shared spaces, you claim that proportionally based on how much of the home that you live in. So if it's like a duplex and you live in 50% and you replace your roof, you can only claim 50% of the cost of the roof replacement. And so we weren't no longer required hard copy submissions. So we will always still accept the hard copy form if you're more comfortable that way, but we do now have a way to submit the form online through DocuSign. It allows you to upload your photos, to submit payment information, and it gets to us much more quickly, and it saves paper. So that's a really good process. Those links are all available on our website. So the part 1 and 2 is important to us because that's really where you're describing the work that you're planning to do, and that's what our role in all of this. Like, ultimately, this is a tax program, but they rely on us to make sure that these historic homes are being treated appropriately. So you just fill it out, you describe the work that you're going to do. It's important to make note if you're replacing something, like what's the material of the roof now? It's asphalt shingles. What's the new roof going to need? Asphalt shingles. Great. I love good, easy roof replacement application. And then we ask for photos with part 1 and 2. We always ask for general photos of the exterior of the house, just so that we can update our files. And then more detailed photos of all the areas where you're going to do work. We really rely on the photos as our before and afters to make sure that you did what you said you were going to do, and you did it appropriately. So you kind of have to be our eyes when you send those photos in. And then after you've submitted that, you can always add more work to your project. Like if you submit for your roof and then it turns out you really want to do your bathroom and your porch, you can submit an amendment form also online through DocuSign to add more work to your items to your project. And there's no limit to the number of amendments, because I had someone once do 9 of them on their project. And there's no cost to submit the amendment. So once you submit, we will provide the approval. If we have any questions about the application, we'll reach out. If you've submitted, a lot of people get nervous filling out state forms, thinking if I screw something up, it's going to get denied. We don't do that. We will send you an email. We will give you a call. It's myself and 2 my staff members that review all of these. I'm the one who covers Monroe County, but I'll call you and say, hey, I'm not sure, I need to know more about what you're doing on your porch. Can you let me know? And we'll sort that like that, and we'll keep things moving along. We don't ever need receipts. You definitely want to hang on to those in case Tax and Finance has a question at the end of your project, but you don't need to submit receipts or invoices to us. So part 3 comes after you've completed the work. Maybe you didn't complete all the work items you said you were going to do, but as long as you spent at least $5,000 and there's 5% of the work on the exterior, you can submit that part 3 application to us. It's very similar to the part 2 in that you're just describing the work that was completed, you're including photos of the completed work, and then we provide certification. An important thing to note is that you claim the credit in the same year that you receive your part 3 certification. So if you want to claim it in a given tax year, you have to submit your part 3 by the end of that year so that we can provide you with the certification. For instance, for 2024, we would need to have that by December 31st so that we can provide the 2024 certification to go with your 24 taxes. We get a lot of people who come to us like in April saying, oh, can I get my part 3? I'm filling out my taxes, and by then it's already too late because it would have had to been received in the previous calendar year. There are some times when we do deny things when it's work that doesn't meet the standards. If it's work that was completely already done, sorry, my dog will leave me alone, and we never reviewed it to begin with. We can't approve things retroactively, things that are just like completely getting rid of historic features. If you are planning to do something and you're not sure if it's going to be approved or if you should bother applying, you can call and ask me. I do it all the time. People are like, what if I do this? What about this replacement material? Is this going to be okay? And it's a quick email exchange and can save us all time and questions later on. I think that's it, I guess. That's my contact information. So I think we already have had, I've had, other than Chris, at least one application on Wimbledon Road. We are at the point where we know this district, sorry, go away, you gotta go down. We know the district is going to be nominated, and eventually it's going to be listed. So we're confident enough to allow people to apply So you can't actually claim it until the district is listed, but I really hate when it's like someone's got to replace their roof now and, the district nomination hasn't been finished yet, but then it gets done in 2 months and they were out, a credit that was a sizable amount. So, reach out if you're not sure. It's all the houses in the map, basically, and one of those houses within the boundary could apply tomorrow, and we can provide that preliminary approval. So, I think that's all I have to present.
Thank you, Christina and Virginia. I'll open it up to both folks here in person, and I think we have one person coming that attended the meeting virtually. So I'll open it up for questions. I think we may have solved, or we're going to manage our feedback problems here in Town Hall. So for anyone who's here in person, if you have any questions for Christina and Virginia, please feel free to come up to the podium. Just let them know who you are, and feel free to fire away with any questions that you have. So I'll open it up for Q&A.
Before we go into the questions, I just wanted to reiterate what Christina said about being listed. And I should tell you that we try and get you listed very quickly on the State Register of Historic Places. The State Review Board will take place on Wednesday, June 12th. And if things go well, we will have this Wimbledon Road Historic District listed on the State Register by June 13th. So if you have any questions for us about either National Register listing or about the homeowner tax credit, I'm sure you have questions about the homeowner tax credit. Everyone has questions about the homeowner tax credit.
Hi, everybody. I'm here, Jerry Bradley, with Donald Brenner, my husband. We live at 214 Wimbledon Road. We have been pre-approved, which we truly appreciate, for 2 projects. Kitchen cabinet replacement, front door refinishing and hardware, and we have been pre-approved for those 2 projects and have completed them but not submitted Part 3 yet. We're waiting and anticipating that. And we just got pre-approved for getting our house painted, which is in dire need. We are original cedar shake shingles. We're maintaining that, but it needs a lot of rehabilitation and repainting. And we've been pre-approved for that, and we are anticipating getting that done in June. So we are on board with this and hope to truly be benefiting from this. The only question I have is we are pre-approved for these 2 projects, which I just mentioned. Do we have to then do anything before submitting Part 3 of the results? Do we have to go back in and resubmit anything, or is Part 2 in place with the approval of the district? Does that make sense?
No, that's a good question. You don't have to. I have to include the language of, this is only up to a preliminary approval, but you don't have to submit, another Part 2 once the district is listed. Your Part 2, it's just okay, you're in, you're good. And then you can submit your Part 3.
Excellent.
As soon as the commissioner's signature is on there, you're good to submit your Part 3.
Excellent. Thank you.
So I just want, you kind of talked about this, but I want to clarify, but if something is denied or doesn't meet the standards for whatever reason, does that mean we cannot make that change to our house, or it just means we can't benefit from the tax credit?
Right. That's a great question. Thank you for asking. We can't ever tell you what you can't do. We can't tell you. Your local commission might be able to tell you what you can't do, but I can't tell you. I can say we don't approve this for the credit. I can say I really strongly recommend you don't do this, but I have no recourse to come after you if you should go and do it. The one thing that we have to consider sometimes is you know, if someone comes in and they say, so like, we would never approve vinyl siding on a house. So if someone comes in and they say, I want to put vinyl siding on, and I also want to replace my roof and do my kitchen, and then I'll say, you can't do the vinyl siding, and if you do the vinyl siding, then you cannot get the credit for your roof or your kitchen, because that's something that's like, it's gonna sink the whole ship. If it's something where it's like, you know, the kitchen window over my sink is always leaky and I really want to put a vinyl window in it, but I'm doing all this other good work, sometimes we say like, well, we're not gonna give you the credit for that vinyl window in your kitchen that no one can see, but the rest of the work that you're doing is fine. So it's really like, there's no like cut and dry answer, it's really on a case by case basis, but there's some situations where like, the work you're proposing would be so egregious that it would sink the whole project, or there may be times where we say, no, there's certain work items that don't qualify too, because sometimes people come in, they're like, oh, I want to repave my driveway, I'm like, that doesn't qualify, but the rest of your work is fine, go ahead. Did I mention garages? If your garage is attached to your house, you can use the credit on it. If it's detached, you can't. But if you have a carriage house, so if your garage is considered a carriage house, which I guess it has to have like a rooms above to be considered, you could get the bond credit on your carriage house.
We don't have that.
What about if
You
they
mentioned too that this program is voluntary, you don't have to do it.
And then I can't tell you what to do at all.
What about if there were changes on the house made already that you wouldn't have approved? Does that disqualify you from future?
No, like sometimes there are houses, as long as your house is still considered contributing to the district, like there are some houses that have vinyl siding on them already, but they're still contributing to a district. If you're gonna take all the vinyl siding off, I'm not gonna want you to put vinyl siding back on. And I wouldn't want you to do that, but like, there are some cases where people already have vinyl windows, and they, you know, we wouldn't hold that against you if those things were already done to the house before you even apply for the credit.
And then I'll add one point of clarification that Christina brought up. So the Arundecoit Historic Preservation Commission, in the town of Arundecoit, we are a CLG, but there's no parameter within our local code that gives the Historic Preservation Commission purview over any National Register listed property in the town. So we only have review authority over individually designated landmarks, which is totally separate from National Register. That's where we have sort of oversight. So the only building within the district that has that level of oversight is my own house, because I'm a glutton for punishment. But everyone else, you're not going to be coming before the Preservation Commission for any of your work.
I have one more question, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
For internal changes, if there like, is there prevention on like, I don't know, knocking down a wall or like opening up a wall to like a half wall or something like that? Do you have to maintain the current footprint of the internal, or is it just exterior that is the like big no-no kind of?
Yeah, so that depends, because there are certain spaces and arrangements in the interior of your home where it's like, you know, a living room and the entryway and how they would naturally be arranged in the house. We don't want to see everyone like blowing up their floor plan to make an open concept thing, but like I have a lot of times where people will like expand their master bathroom or something. Like they'll take a closet and they'll make it into a larger bathroom, or they'll take two rooms and combine them into one. Like the upstairs bedrooms, we really don't care much about that at all. But it depends. Sometimes that can be okay, sometimes it's not. And if you have like specific things that you think you want to do, and we can definitely like connect outside of this, and I can get into like the nitty gritty with you if you want to like bounce those things. Like, well, would it be okay if I did this? Like, if you can show, it's easier if I can see pictures, you know.
Right, yeah. Thank you.
Great questions. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Minchella. I live at 256 Wimbledon with my husband Roger, and we have got absolutely the worst kitchen on Wimbledon Road. I mean, it's
I know my mother-in-law has a really
oh.
important kitchen. She has the ceramic countertops because she does.
Well, this is absolutely terrible. So what we're doing is we are trying to restore the kitchen back to similarly the way it was when the house was built. And we've done some research. Chris has sent us pictures of his kitchen, and we found hardware from 1928 for the drawers and things like that. So we plan on just totally gutting the kitchen. But my question is, as far as the exterior work, it's 5% now. We have brick front steps that really need some work, and also we need steps on this by the side door. Would that qualify?
Yes, like basically anything down to that bottom step, no walkways, but
Right,
yes,
yeah.
the steps qualify.
That would, okay. And so if it's over 5%, that just adds to the total cost, correct?
Yes, it just has to be at least 5%.
5%, okay.
And
Okay.
also mechanical systems on the exterior, so people are putting in like air conditioning systems and the air conditioning unit is on the outside, like that counts exterior. They used to not, for some reason tax finance didn't used to let us count exterior mechanicals towards that 5%, and we like argued with them and got them to allow it because sometimes it's really hard to do that, especially like if you're doing a kitchen, like kitchens cost a lot of money, so that 5% can be quite substantial depending
Right.
on how much work you're doing on the inside of the house.
Right. Yeah, well, we plan, we're doing updates on the kitchen. I mean, it won't be 1920s wiring or anything like that. We're going to have LEDs and things like that. But, so, okay, I guess that's it. Thank you very much.
And I want to underscore too, if you are planning on a project, if you're, just in the planning stage, that's fine, but as soon as you know cost estimates, get that application in. The tax credit is not retroactive. We gotta know while you're planning or before you start doing the work. Or else you run the risk of not being able to take tax credit.
How long does it take to for
I was just about to say, that's good. That's something, it's like, I keep updating my slides, and I think that one got lost in the shuffle, so it can take up to 30 days. Right now is like a super busy time of year where we get a ton of them, so it's like, people are like, it's been a week, I haven't heard from you, this is unusual. Honestly, usually we turn them around in like a week or two. Very rarely does it ever take full 30 days, but honestly, like, if you submit an application, and then your contractor calls you and says, I can be there tomorrow, like, call me or shoot me an email. And even if I don't get a chance to, like, officially process it through the system, I can pull it up and take a look, like, oh, I see what you're gonna do, it's gonna be fine, go ahead, don't delay your start of your work, you're okay, because we understand. I mean, I was working on my basement, like, I know how hard it is to get a contractor, and if they all of a sudden become available, and you're waiting on me, I don't want you to have to delay the start of your work because of that. So that happens a lot. Like, people will call me like, I sent my application in, but they want to be here really soon. Is it okay? And as long as we have that and it's in process, we can, if you touch base with us, we can accommodate those schedules. It's not like you just have to sit and wait forever until you get
Two
it.
things I want to stress. Make sure your email is on the application. And if there are like two property owners, two owners of the house, make sure both signatures are on that DocuSign document.
Yeah.
That tends to slow things down.
Yeah, and sometimes there's not that many people here, so it doesn't really matter. But like, the biggest problem with our online form is that like people will put in two owners, and then the first person has to go in and fill everything out and sign it, and then it gets sent to the second person via email to sign. And if person A doesn't tell person B, hey, I submitted this application, check your inbox, and they didn't see it, then like a month will pass, and person A will email me and be like, I put in my application a month ago, I haven't heard anything. I'm like, that's because person B still needs to sign it, and I'll, resend it to them. So just make sure you're, if there's two of you on the application, make sure you're in communication about signing that. But also, again, don't worry that we're gonna stamp something denied. Like, we may ask for more information. It always helps, like, if you're putting in need a new window or something, and you have that information from the manufacturer that says like, you know, material and the size and everything, just upload that with your form to us. Like, you know, it never hurts to provide us with that information, so that we have everything we need. And, you know, but if you don't include something, we'll just ask for it if we need it.
And then I was going to add just. I was going to add one quick thing before we get to that question, related to the discussion about utilities outside the building. So this is just a clarification from past experience, and actually asking Christina a question. I think this year I asked you about it. So things like solar panels, as well as your sort of charger if you're getting a fully electric car. Those can be, especially for this district where we have a lot of detached garages. So while the work on rehabilitating the garage itself does not count because it's not attached, if you put solar panels on that garage or a car charger in that garage, they do count because they're connected to the mechanical systems of the house.
Right, if it's tied into like your water, your electricity, whatever, it can count towards the credit even if it's on that other building.
If a project is approved, but eventually the work that you do in a single year falls below the $5,000 threshold, is that just like what happens?
It stays open, so your project stays open. That's one thing I have scoured through the tax law. There is no rule that says like once your project is open, it has to be completed by X date. You have to give us your part 3 by December 31st of the year that you want to claim the credit. But you can open a project with us, and sometimes people take a couple of years to tally up a lot of expenses and then just get a bigger credit in 1 year. Sometimes people come in like year after year. I mean, it's old houses always have things we need to do. So some people are like, if you can meet that $5,000 every year, you're getting a little bit of a tax credit every year. Some people wait a little bit longer. Sometimes people also don't worry about like, if you have some big interior item, like if your hot water heater needs to be replaced, but you don't have any exterior work, you can still apply. I'm just gonna write you back and say, don't forget, you're gonna have to add some exterior work before you can close out your project. But like, you can put that on there now to get it approved and just to get it through the door. And then the other thing is like, if you apply for things and you don't get around to them, but you've met the $5,000, you can close it out, that project's closed, but then you can put in a new application saying, I'm just gonna carry on these work items that were already approved under my prior project number, and you will say, oh great, I already reviewed these, you're approved again, and we open up a new project.
Cool. I know you're talking about windows, and we've had a bunch of questions about like cases and stuff. But what about like specifically glass repair? I have these 2 doors in my house that the glass has been broken or cracked or something. And we really like them. We want to get them fixed. Is that something that falls under the program? Okay. One last question. Sorry. Do you have like, will you help us find contractors, or is there a list or something? Because
that is something we expressly cannot do. So as a state agency, we are not allowed to recommend manufacturers or products or contractors. I would reach out to the Landmark Society of Western New York. They are our, nonprofit partner in the region. They can definitely recommend. And then a hot tip from my contractor actually was, if you're having trouble finding someone to install something, call the manufacturer and ask them, are there contractors in this area that you know install your product? So like for a slate roof, like if you're ordering slates from certain places, like you can call them and ask them who they would recommend, but we cannot.
if we have the curved doors on our front of the house, and that's like, if we talk to one contractor, like, yeah, they don't do that anymore.
We live at 214 Wimbledon, and we had several doors fixed inside. We have someone, so just reach out to it. Yeah, we know someone who's great. He's great. So,
Does have a list of contractors that they know of, and they do keep a list of people who have expertise or experience in working with historic homes.
And we don't have to approve your contractors, like that's a common misconception. People think like, do you have to approve our contractors? No. Oh, and another thing I forgot to mention is the Part 2 application asks you for an estimated cost for the work items. If you have already a contractor's estimate for the work, like if you talk to a roofing company and they said it's gonna be $25,000 for your roof, boom, put that on there. But if you know, I need to replace my roof, I'm gonna replace it with asphalt shingles, I just haven't talked to a contractor yet, all I need to know is the nature of the work, and you can make up the price that you think it's gonna be. It can be your best approximate cost for those work items, because like, you know, it can delay the process. If you happen to have the information already from the contractor, fantastic. But if you know, if you're able to describe to me the work that you're gonna do, the materials that are gonna be installed, and you're just not sure what it's gonna cost, you can just put a place order. You can say, I don't know. And if the cost is different from what you put on your Part 2, that is totally fine. You don't need to submit an amendment. A lot of times things end up costing more than what you thought they would cost, and that's okay. We only need an amendment if you're adding work items or if you're completely changing. Like if you said you were going to repair your slate roof and now you're actually deciding to replace it, we'd want an amendment for that because that's like a different thing that you're doing. But you don't need to worry about it if it's just a change in the cost.
But just to clarify, you would, so there's not confusion, you are gonna put the accurate cost in your Part 3.
Yes.
You're estimating in Part 2, but absolutely put the correct numbers in your Part 3.
Yes, do not guesstimate on your Part 3 because I don't want to get in trouble and I don't want you to get on it. So, and again, even with that Part 3 and your final expenses, we don't require that you send us like copies of checks or contractor invoices. Keep all of that for your records. Report the real and true amounts accurately on your things. Honestly, I always check the math when I do them. And sometimes people make math or errors and I'll like adjust it, like, corrected for a math error, just so that everything's right by the time that, because that certification is what you use. I didn't mention this either. Is the way to get the credit is to fill out a tax claim form. So there's a tax claim form IT 237. This is written when you get your approval. We'll reference it, so you don't have to write this down now, but if you want. But that's the claim form for this credit. So as you're filling out your taxes, you're also filling out the credit claim form. It has you put in your project number and your certified expenses from that certification that you received from our office, and then that's what you file with your taxes to actually get the credit.
Yeah, I have one last thing to say about the National Register. Every homeowner in the historic district is going to get a series of letters as the process goes through for review. You've gotten the first one that mentions that it's going to go towards to this June State Review Board. And then when that's done and when it's listed on the state register, you're going to get another letter from our office saying, you're now listed on the district. Well, that sounds like your house is listed on the national. It's the district that's getting listed on the National Register. So the first one is it's going to the State Review Board. Second letter you're going to get from our office is about the listing on the State Register. And then there will be a final letter when it is finally listed on the National Register. So lots of letters. And that's something that we can't help. It's required by the National Emergencies.
Question. Jerry again, 214 Wimbledon. Do we have to wait to submit Part 3 until it is listed on the National Register?
No, just the state register.
Okay, thanks.
One last question. Will there be some marker for a district?
We don't provide markers. And there's a group out there called the Pomeroy Foundation. They do not provide markers for historic districts, to my knowledge. But there's no reason why you can't buy a marker yourself for the house. I don't know if you want to, but yeah.
So to answer that question, so the Arundequoit Historic Preservation Commission is working on developing a design for an actual marker that will identify the district. So our Vice Chair, Mark Johns, is over there in the vest. He's sort of taken on the charge. And we're working through potential designs and exploring what I think the current design solution that we're hoping to achieve is that we'll work with the town DPW department and have it actually affixed to the street signs at either end of the district with its own sign identifying the district on each end of the street.
Last chance for questions. Well, thank you for this opportunity, for letting us have, give this presentation to you and giving you an opportunity to ask questions. If you do need to, you think of something on the way home, or if one of your neighbors who's here, asks a question that you don't know, have them give us a call. You may have missed the contact information on the PowerPoint presentation, but Chris can get you my phone number, my email, he can get you Christina's phone number and Christina's email as well.
And if you call me, I will pick up the phone if I'm available because I hate getting voice messages. But you can leave it and I'll call you back. But if my phone rings, I will answer it and talk to you. And I will walk you through filling out the application if you need me to.
Okay, so thank you, Christina and Virginia, for the presentation. Thank you, everyone, who's attended both in person and virtually. Without having any additional business for tonight's meeting, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn this month's meeting at 8:37. Can I get a second? I got a second from Commissioner Dumbold. All in favor? Aye, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.